Is mór an óir domsa, bheansa os cór Scoil Chorp Chríost Knockanure live in nómh lá anna speisialta I saoil an feróiste agus is stair na hÉireann freisin mar táimid de cuineamh na mochalí a fuair bás go treagóideach Gortaglanna an lásá 100 bhliain ó shin. Tá a lán stadéir déanta agus taidir déanta ag na leanaí sa scoil an treagóid seo agus tá míid chun taspáintas beag a dhéanamh in nómh de dheasc in an ón na srianta go léir atá a gcuin faoi láthair. It's a huge honour for me to stand here in front of our school in Knockanure on this lovely sunny May morning to remember the Gortaglanna tragedy and our heroes who died for the cause of freedom in our country. Patrick Dalton, Patrick Walsh and Jerry Lyons died tragically at Gortaglanna on this very day in 1921, and Condi was lucky enough to flee from the Black and Tans with a gunshot wound. Our boys and girls in the school have been researching and working with and learning about the Gortaglanna tragedy for the past number of weeks, and of course also learning the song. Today we remember this event in our school, and we bring to you a short presentation where our boys and girls in 5th and 6th class will tell you the story, and our children from 3rd to 6th class will sing the song. We hope you enjoy it.
The years after the Easter Rising from 1919 to 1921 was a very unsettled period in our history. The country was in turmoil. The British government had formed a policing organisation called the Royal Irish Constabulary. The volunteers, or IRA, set up a group around rural Ireland called the Flying Columns, who were mainly in operation in the south and west of Ireland. On the day the first Dáil met in 1919, 2 policemen were shot in Tipperary, more than likely the work of the famous Dan Breen. This was the beginning of war independence. As a result of the constant attacks on the RIC, the British government sent over armed ex-soldiers to help police the country. There were 2 groups, the Black and Tans and the Auxiliaries. The Black and Tans were ex-soldiers who had fought in World War I and returned home shell-shocked and mentally disturbed. The actions of the Black and Tans resulted in many people becoming members of the IRA and fighting for the cause. The War of Independence continued throughout 1920 and 1921, and finally in August 1921, the Anglo-Irish Treaty was signed. There were many deaths and the Irish economy suffered badly at this time. Companies were closed, creameries, bridges and railways were destroyed. North Kerry was a war zone during this period. On the 12th of May 1921, exactly 100 years ago, a tragedy unfolded at Gortaglanna, Knockanure. There is a terrible act of brutality by the Black and Tans and has gone down in fame, in history and in song.
One of the most significant events in the lead-up to the ambush at Gortaglanna was the murder of Tobias O'Sullivan, who was an RIC district inspector based in Listowel. He was a prime target for the Flying Columns as he ordered the Black and Tans to carry out many attacks, atrocities and murders in the area. He had been a target for a long period of time and had 3 bodyguards after an attempted assassination in Maivan and a further attempt during a fair in Listowel. On the 19th of January 1921, 4 men from the Maivan Company, Dan O'Grady, Jack Sheehan, First Lieutenant Jack Ahern, led by Con Boston, volunteered to shoot the inspector. It was a market day in Listowel. At around noon, the 4 men met and kept watch. They shot Tobias at approximately 12:30 p.m, just metres away from his own home, in front of his 7-year-old son. This atrocity caused the RIC and the Black and Tans to be even more ruthless in their pursuit of the Flying Columns.
The other significant event that happened in the Maivan area was the burning of Kilmorna House. The residence of Sir Arthur Vickers, who was shot dead by a flying column under the command of James Costello. The police had been closely watching the Kilmorna estate and would have regularly fished down the River Field. The big estates like the one in Kilmorna were prime IRA targets. As Vickers made his escape through the main entrance of his house, he was captured by a second group of IRA men, who held him up and shot him dead on the spot. Petrol and paraffin were splashed throughout the ground floor of the house, and it was then burned to the ground. Lady Vickers survived ambush. In the spring of 1921, the situation in North Korea spiraled out of control. The Crown forces were lashing out on innocent people throughout the countryside. Many farmhouses were burnt and homes ransacked as the Black and Tans became more anxious to stop the IRA from carrying out their plans to bring the Crown forces to their knees. On the morning of 12th of May 1921, some members of the local colliery attended a mission retreat given by the Redemptionist Fathers in Ate. It was a lovely fine May morning. A troop of Black and Tans were travelling out from the Stole towards Ate in their trucks, which were called crossley tenders. The lads knew the sounds of these trucks too well. There was 3 lorries and an open top car. 4 men, Condi, Jerry Lyons, Patrick Dalton and Patrick Walsh, were just gone past Gortaglanna Bridge when Paddy Walsh suggested they should go into a nearby field, as it would be safer than the roadside. Just as they were over the fence, they heard the sounds of the lorries. Condi suggested they should take cover.
They were then quickly surrounded by the Black and Tans, so Condi said to his companions, "Come out, lads, with their hands up." As they made their presence known to the authorities, they were then met with terrible abuse. They were kicked and beaten with rifles, fists and revolvers. They were then separated into 3 trucks. Patrick Walsh and Patrick Dalton in the first, Condi in the second, and Jerry Lyons in the third. They drove half a mile towards Ate and then stopped and turned around. Paddy Walsh and Paddy Dalton were put into the same truck as Condi. The lorries were then driven back the same road for about a mile. They were then ordered out of the lorries. Condi later said in his sworn statement, "I looked at my companions. I saw blood on Jerry Lyons' face and on Paddy Walsh's mouth. Paddy Dalton was bleeding from the nose."
They were ordered to run down the field, but they refused. They requested a trial, but the Black and Tans only jeered and laughed at them and called them murderers. They were lined up facing a fence in a field about 40 yards from the road. A Black and Tan with a rifle stood in front of each one of them. There were other Black and Tans behind the rifleman. The Tan in front of Condi hesitated for about 20 seconds, as if he wanted one of his comrades to shoot first, which they did. The second Tan shot Jerry Lyons. When this happened, Condi decided as he was going to be shot anyway to make a run for it. He did, and almost immediately took a bullet in the thigh, but managed to keep going. He ran for about 3 miles and was given cover in local houses in the area. Dee remained in hiding until the Anglo-Irish Treaty was signed in August 1921. He later emigrated to America, where he lived in Chicago until his death in 1967.
The story of the tragedy at Gortaglanna has been preserved for posterity through the song "The Valley of Knockanure." The former principal of Knockanure School, Padraig O'Callaghan, father of Father Brendan, wrote the original version of the song, about 3 verses. He took his ballad to Brian McMahon in Listowel, along with Condi's sworn statement, and asked Brian to rewrite the ballad, that whatever verses were needed to preserve the story. This is the version we sing.
You may sing and speak about Easter week, or the heroes